Welcome back to Telltale, and we're continuing a busy Halloween season.
Yeah.
Lots of horror
Lots to
stories. We're all getting depressed here and really down under the weather.
My voice is like fatiguing from all the videos.
Yeah, we're doing the whole month in one night.
Yeah, pretty much the whole thing. Yeah,
almost. I got a couple that'll do on my own.
Okay.
And then we got to do Dracula at the very end.
Mm-hmm. We're going to try and work our way through that. And I'm going to see if I can pop in some short stories here and there, too. But
okay.
I'll work on that.
But this story we're talking about is the next... Well, not the next... I'm not doing videos of all of Edgar Allan Poe's stories because some of them, frankly, are just boring. And they're just not very interesting. So there were two stories I read in between Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym and Ligeia, and And so then Ligeia, and we're doing this video about this short story, which it was published. Gotta get to my notes. My electronic memory.
Yay! It was not that
This
far.
was published in September of 1838.
Whee!
Get off of there.
It's an old one.
Yep.
And I really liked this one.
Published in Baltimore American Museum.
It's so romantic.
Okay.
I think it's really romantic.
I'll take a stab at
Do
the
the
synopsis, and
All
then
right.
you can tell us why you think it's romantic.
Okay.
So, the story, I'm not as good at this as she is, but I'm gonna try here.
Good practice. It's good.
Yeah, the story is you have this guy married to Ligeia, and the first couple pages, it's a short story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 5 pages.
Yeah.
First couple pages are just him kind of going off the deep end, describing how beautiful and wonderful she is, and of course she's perfect in every way. Not only does she have good looks, but she can do math and
She's super
literature,
smart. She's really wise,
and she can build houses and
leap tall buildings in a single bound.
and she has a degree in nuclear physics.
Yeah,
Berkeley.
literally.
Basically,
this woman can do no wrong.
Yeah. She is Superwoman.
Yeah, in his eyes, which is romantic.
So you get the point after a couple pages of this that this guy is really deeply in love with this woman, but she gets sick and dies.
As all good women do, unfortunately.
Well, everybody in Edgar Allan, I felt like this was very autobiographical because he went through the same thing.
Yeah, this was him. This was basically his therapy. He was writing this. Yeah.
And so the guy remarries, which Poe did, and that one dies.
Yeah.
But the second wife in this story, is put into the same room where Ligeia slept. This lofty room in kind of like a turret on this mansion house, and there seem to be presences in the room, and I'm going to spoil the hell out of this.
Yeah.
So
go for it.
There seem to be presences in this room, and then the second wife gets sick and slowly dies.
There is an important thing you need to mention, though.
Okay.
He really doesn't love this wife. This was a marriage of convenience, the second marriage.
Yeah.
It drives him to be an opium fiend.
Yeah.
He's an opium eater.
But, I mean, after that first wife, who could love anybody else?
Exactly. When she's so perfect, everything else is paltry in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But he makes it very clear that this was a marriage of convenience. This was not because of his position as a noble. This was not, he was not in love with her. He did not want to remarry. They hated each other, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
So, as the second wife becomes ill and is slowly dying,
and he's high on opium.
First of all, there are seemingly presences in the room, but then while the woman wastes away and dies, the second wife wastes away and dies, but then seems to come back to life.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, at the very end of this story, she completely comes back to life and stands up. And the character looks at her, and it's Ligeia.
Mm-hmm. How romantic. My zombie wife.
Yeah, how wholehearted.
This is very, like, Corpse Bride-esque in a lot of ways for me. I like it because he is so very in love with his first wife. And I find that very romantic, but she also alludes to wanting to come back to love him longer as she's dying. Mm-hmm. And the fact that she, of her own willpower, does is extremely romantic, so that they can die together instead of being without each other.
Okay.
And I find that very romantic and very kind of sweet.
Mm-hmm. So she comes back to give him a heart attack.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have a heart attack. No. He's just amazed. But at the end, it's like, is the amazement because he's just so thrilled that she's back? Or is it like, you don't really know, essentially. Right. But he does say, my long lost love, the lady Ligeia. Mm-hmm. And I love that because he recognized her as his long-lost love, but still gives her that term of endearment. I have this beautiful copy of a collection of the Tales of Edgar Allan Poe. This is a Random House edition that was published in... It's not gonna tell me. Really fucking ancient.
Looks like 1940s.
40s, yeah. Probably late 30s, early 40s. Yeah, it's decided it's not going to tell me. But I have gorgeous illustrations. This is Ligeia on her deathbed while he's mourning her. So I really love the illustrations in these. They have this really cool cartoony feel, but also very stark and dark. Mm-hmm. It almost is like early Tim Burton sort of stuff. Yeah. This is where Tim Burton pulled his inspiration from, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But I like that. The characters all are done with really big eyes and very, like, strange caricature head kind of things. The cross-hatching is amazing. There's really a lot of fine detail, despite how cartoony they are. Mm-hmm. So I really like the illustrations of that.
And I just have this old modern library, Complete Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe, which has cool typography on the front, but every one of the modern library books published in the early 1980s looks like this. Mm-hmm. Same typography, same brown.
Yeah.
A little bit boring.
Yeah, mine kind of has this Art Deco style going on.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's really very, like, I don't know if they can see it well, but pause it and screenshot and zoom in.
Mine is very 70s, very pushpin studio.
Fritz Eichenberg. That's who the wood engraver is who did these. Fritz Eichenberg.
That's the one that did your Jane Eyre.
Yeah, the one I keep finding the work of.
Exactly.
Not realizing it until actually I didn't realize it until the copy of Gulliver's Travels that I got at that antique store that you and I got together. Mm-hmm. That was when I realized that all of these illustrations in these books are from the same guy. Mm-hmm. Like, I like the illustrations. At least I'm consistent. Yeah. It's the only thing I'm consistent in.
So, interesting thing about this story is it was originally published just as the prose story. Mm-hmm. The second time it was published, though, Poe added a poem.
Yes, that's the one I have in here. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one you usually see.
Yes.
Because it's a great poem. It's one that apparently Ligeia wrote, and he recites it on her deathbed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she has.
So I'm going to attempt to read this.
Go for it.
It's a really good poem.
Yes, it is.
If I can see it. Lo, 'tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years. An angel throne. I'm murdering this. An angel throng, bewinged, bedight, in veils and drowned in tears, sit in a theater to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spears. Mm-hmm. Mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly. Mere puppets they, who come and go, at bidding of vast formless things, that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings, invisible woe. That motley drama, oh, be sure, it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased for evermore, Poe's favorite phrase, by a crowd that sees it not. Through a circle that ever returneth in to the self-same spot, and much of madness and more of sin and horror the soul of the plot. But see, amid the mimic rout, a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes with mortal pangs, the mimes become its food, and the seraphs sob at vermin fangs, in human gore imbued. Out, out are the lights, out all, and over each quivering form the curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, and the angels, all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy, man, and its hero, the conqueror worm.
I like that one.
Yeah, very, very Edgar Allan Poe. Very cool thing to insert right in the middle of this story.
Yes.
And I think it works to really break it up into, so you have this section where he goes on and on describing how beautiful and perfect Ligeia is, and then there comes the poem and she dies, and then you go into the second part, which is about the second wife, who then also dies but is reborn as Ligeia.
Like it.
Or possessed by Ligeia or something.
Either way, it's romantic.
Okay.
Unless she's like a zombie, then that's kind of gross. But, you know, to each their own.
Well, she is inhabiting a corpse.
Yeah, but the corpse is alive again? So, like, is she really decaying?
Yeah,
Probably
well,
not.
I would think so, because she's been dead for a few days.
And honestly, though, like, even still, she's not dead. She was just mostly dead. Not all dead.
Well, she was dead, but inhabited by a ghost.
Yeah, well, she would breathe, and then not breathe, and then start to breathe again. And this goes on for, like, a day or two. Where she never fully dies, and then she just gets up! And it's like, Ligeia.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Good thing you didn't bury her.
Yeah, good thing. And he was waiting, though. And in most, also, in most of that period of time, he is doped up on opium so hard.
True.
So he's like, the presence is, maybe it's just, I'm having a bad trip. Literally, like, what he keeps thinking until the body finally gets up. And he's like, all right, this isn't a trip anymore. So, yeah.
But that's what makes this whole thing feel very autobiographical, is because I don't know that Poe did opium, but he was drunk a lot.
Yeah, he was an alcoholic, for sure.
He was an alcoholic, and he did lose a couple of wives by this time. So,
yeah.
You know, a lot of his poetry and stories that involve lamenting a dead woman come from his personal experience.
Yeah.
Where he married his cousin. He was in the South. It's allowed there.
That happened a lot back in the day, too. It's incest
I
was
guess.
just a thing. I mean, Shakespeare did it.
Well, a lot of the aristocracy did it.
Yeah. Anyway. Yay.
Okay. So, excellent little story. Again, I left this blank.
Lovely
we
goth
gotta
romance.
Talk about that. Should it be a top tale? It's one of his most famous.
I think it should be. Because I do like the poem in it. The prose, it's so well written. And we don't have enough romantic pieces in top tales. Most of them are very horrific or weird or bizarre or science fiction-y, but not very romantic. So I think
this
we
isn't
need...
weird at all. It's just straightforward romance.
Yeah, it's straightforward. This is my love story. This is goals to come back
and haunt your husband.
and haunt my husband. Not even haunt, just like be undead and hang out and like keep going.
Oh no!
Like to never die. An eternal love. I think that's why I like it so much, because they do literally worship each other. Like, they just are so in love. This is like Morticia Addams and Gomez level love right here in all its forms. Except Gomez is on opium and marries a second time only for Morticia to come back. That's the Poe version.
So we gotta read more stories like that, like Tristan and Isolde.
Yeah, I feel like we need to start delving into a little bit more of those romantic classics too, because I mean, I'm not
romantic
a big
dead people. That's our theme for.
It's the only romance I'll read. Someone has to die at least once, twice, 3 times even. I don't care. It's like a soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not usually into romances. I like this one for its very ghostly element, and I like that it is literally an eternal love where she's determined to come back to be with him again.
Okay.
And I think that's really cool. Like, to defy death for the sake of love is really sweet, actually. So
I'll agree. This one's definitely a top tale. It's full on Poe. And interestingly, the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym, which was published just like 2 years before this, his style, it's Poe's style, but it's a little simpler
vastly
and easier
different
to read.
Yeah.
By Ligeia, and he only wrote 2 other short stories in between. By Ligeia, he was full into his
He has his tone.
style.
Yeah, he's found his style.
3-page paragraphs and run-on sentences.
King of run-on sentences, the king of commas, the king of Oxford commas, the king of semicolons.
But doing it in a way that makes his prose like poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And just wonderful to read. It's a little bit of a struggle to get through sometimes, but it's awesome to read because it's more than just, here's the story. He crafts it. He chooses each and every word for
the scene
the
and the
sound.
mood. It's a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Me too. That's enough.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Go out, find it, read it. Poe's super accessible. You'll find it everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Public domain.
Yep. So go for it. Like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you think of it, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.